last CircleCityCon. Hopefully, the virtual environment has been as productive for you as it was for me. I've actually been more attached to Discord than I have for a long time. My name's Lintile. I will own it in public. For those of you, I've been sort of facilitating the slow driving of crazy over the weekend. With me on audio here is the Mike Connor. Mike has put together a lot of the challenges that you played throughout the weekend. So, I'm at least the one that you can, see the face if you see me in public. But Mike, you want to say hi?
Hi.
That's good enough. Terse as always, Mike. So the purpose of this talk, just to let everybody know, kind of what I wanted to do, is I want to just run you through sort of some of the motivations, some of the things behind the scenes, and really give this as a time for the people that played in the CTF to get a little bit of resolution on anything. We're going to talk about how we're going to handle things about write-ups. Where Mike and I are actually going to run a program about how to basically solicit write-ups about the individual challenges, maybe even give out surprises for good write-ups, but in the vein of trying to help disseminate information about the way that we do some of these things. Please, I'm watching the TrackOne channel in Discord for questions as we go along. Feel free to interrupt me. I want this to be, not me just talking to you, like a lecture style, like an actual talk. I'd love to be more of a discussion, so I'll be watching there. Okay, well, let's start with addressing sort of the elephant in the room, which is this didn't look like a normal CTF. One of the things I will say that I always try to do with the contest at CircleCityCon is explore concepts in these contests that I really, frankly, I kind of use y'all as a little bit of an experiment. I contribute to a lot of these challenges. For those of you who was your first CTF, this probably, it might have ruined you in terms of what to expect. So let me highlight some of the differences that we see. So again, this year, we did the scoreboarding a little bit differently. In years past, I've used a web scoreboard, that's cloud hosted. For me, it was interesting to sort of build a Discord bot from scratch. So that's what I did. Technical information on that, I wrote it in Python using the discord.py interface to Discord. For those of you who want to know exactly how that works, what that is essentially a WebSocket, which interacts with Discord's backend that basically allows the bot to see essentially all of the messages, all of the users, all of the things that happen on a Discord channel, or on a Discord server, I should say. What we use that for is basically two things. The structure, as you pretty much see, is that the challenges are the individual channels in categories. A side note about that kind of lesson learned, it actually is really good for not having to spam notifications to CTF guests, because you can see which channels are unread, which channels have been updated. So we kind of let Discord handle that notification policy so that everybody could either opt into notifying and everything or not. So that's kind of the basic idea there. On the back end, on our side, I had a Postgres database that I used SQL Alchemy so that we can retarget it later to a different database schema if we need to. But essentially, what I'm tracking in the database are the different users, the different answers, questions, hints, all of it sort of relationally. So what would happen is, you invoke a command with the bot, the handler would query the database, and basically, moving on. Yeah, absolutely. It's in Go. Angus had a question: how deep into the socket did I go? Basically, the answer to that is I could have gone deeper. There are opportunities to get a lot more sort of metadata level information. For this first iteration, I only used sort of the canned message responses that were sort of happening normally through the discord.py interface. They've got a good relational object model that you can sort of move between concepts pretty easily. So I didn't add anything to that. There are a couple of places where I think you could definitely improve the way that I coded it by doing a little bit more. But again, lessons learned throughout this for me meant that sort of just trying to capture messages. In terms of the strategy of how we wanted to limit interaction, and I'm not saying about this set of CTF contestants, but I'm saying if in general, if you're going to use this bot in a larger competition, I think it's important to be able to control the public forums in terms of moderation on the actual scoreboard server so that, there's fewer places that people actually can put flags and stuff that might give away things. But I will tell you that we did, so that's why we did the moderation, so that the first thing you saw when you logged into the server was that one open channel that you couldn't, post into, but it would allow you to sort of activate the roles on the server with the bot. I had a bunch of to-dos that I didn't get, to done about doing more sophisticated role management and things like that. Again, there's no technical blockers to all of that. You can automate all of those things through the Discord interface. It was just, this was the first iteration, and I wanted to make sure that the parts like flag submission and the like were as solid and secure as possible. Yeah, okay. So in terms of the other pieces of this, flag submission, you have all of the, from running a CTF style, you have all of the different sort of traditional validators for flags, both regex as well as exact. I know we had a couple of issues on that side, which we corrected. I will say, based upon correcting issues, sometimes that can be a difficult process if you played a lot of CTFs. The thing that is nice about the Discord interface is, since for example, one of the things that I want you to know about how I tracked users, if you put your Discord into developer mode, you can actually right click on pretty much anything in the Discord client and do an operation called copy ID. What that ID is called a snowflake. And in this case, a snowflake is a time-stamped unique identifier for literally every entity in Discord. So the cool part about that was that when I had you jump from the Circle City Discord, click the, use that link or click that link, your identity on the Circle City Discord is going to be directly correlatable with mine based upon your username and your hashtag number, which they call a differentiator. I use that snowflake to track the different users so that I knew how to go to anybody in the Circle City Discord versus people in the CTF. That's been a problem in the past. Sometimes you want to make sure that the people you give prizes to as part of your CTF, if you've opened it up, are actually attendees of your con. Having one sort of format for for tracking those users against what had been loaded into the Discord ended up saving a lot of work on the back end. And it allows you to sort of definitively track people. Frankly, another big benefit is just not having to implement user registration yourself. In the vein of multi-factor auth or single sign-on, we were relying on Discord's Discord's interface there for user management, and that's one of the things that worked particularly well. And pretty much the only other piece hosting wise that I use, so all of the components, the bot, and a couple of the challenges that required some more back-end stuff were hosted via AWS. One of the things that I love to talk about is how much that generally costs. My forecasted cost, all told, for all of the AWS services that I used, is going to be about $35 for about the last month. So it's very accessible in terms of budget. The other piece of that is I used a CDN that I wanted to test out. I used fast.io. So the links that you actually saw next to the challenges was, CDN that I used to, sort of securely manage and propagate files. I didn't hear any reports of anybody that had any problems with the download. And in fact, one of the things I wanted to do was make sure that if we did use this in other contexts where there'd be larger file downloads, things like PCAPs or other virtual machines, that this could handle this. All told, for a month, that CDN cost me $12. So I think that is not too bad in terms of the scale of what we put together here. Okay, I'm going to pause on sort of my ramble about infrastructure to see if anybody has any questions, not about the actual content, but about the infrastructure themselves. I'll wait a couple minutes if anybody's typing. Yeah, Rotten Rat, we used to actually host a lot of our own virtual private servers. And basically what we found is that the benefit is, unless you're doing something really sophisticated where you have to have full control over the network, like 90% of CTF challenges in a Jeopardy style CTF don't require that level of introspection. And so it's cheaper, it's more reliable, it's easier to recover if you actually host most of it in AWS. And frankly, we've been pretty successfully doing that for a few years. It would be amenable to any cloud style. I just happen to use AWS because it's the easier one. Okay, seeing no more typing or questions, I'll give Sam and Ian one more second to finish their, if they're writing a question, and then I'll move on. Okay, cool. Seeing everybody stop questioning. So let's move into sort of where we defer or diverge from a traditional CTF, and I'll give Mike a chance to talk about any of his challenges that he really liked. So one of the things that I enjoy doing as part of CTF is maybe focusing a little bit less on the actual sort of standard tools and pieces that sort of is rinse and repeat in terms of CTFs. And I try to craft challenges which, require you to use certain computing tools, but if you use them without actually thinking about your surroundings, it's a little bit harder. Sometimes sometimes we miss the mark here because, a lot of things we do are experimental. But the idea here is to really sort of put critical thinking style clues in the actual prompts, as well as hidden in the files that are unexpected. Really, this is maybe more of a puzzle CTF than what you would get at a lot of other cons, like as a contrast to the security innovations command and control. That was more of a actual look at the cyber range, sort of figure out the devices, figure out all of the different boxes and try to exploit them. We're more on the here's an unexpected input that might be the result of one of the artifacts you might find on one of those things. And in fact, a lot of the techniques that we use are things that we found in samples that we've dealt with throughout time. And so for those of you who this was your first CTF, know that in the future you're most likely going to see CTFs that have more more challenges that have less personality, I guess would be the way that I put it. It tends to focus a little bit more on the actual mechanics of exploitation or discovery or forensics, whereas I think we were a little bit more pithy with the puzzles that we put together. Right. So we definitely had a couple of challenges that we're going to want to walk through. Mike, do you want to talk about any specific challenges that that were solved that to maybe prompt any questions?
None that really steps forward as this is the one that I want to walk through. Were there any from the chat that they wanted some thoughts or feedback on why we chose what we did?
G, you've been watching the chat. Did you see any that we should go through?
The emoji one.
Oh, the emoji code one, Mike. Do you want to talk about that?
I suppose I can give that one
Yeah,
All
so
right.
so we're not going to talk about all of the details because like I said at the beginning of the talk, the last thing that we're going to talk about is what we're going to do in terms of the write-ups. But I think in general, Mike, you can give people a little bit of feedback of what the actual the answer was, or what the format was.
Okay, so with this one, I'd say the big issue that a lot of people ran into was the copy and paste directly out of Discord, as it changed to the shorthand code for each of them. That was certainly not intended for the challenge at all, but guess what? That made an extra step to the challenge. You can deal with it.
We did raise the points on the back end for that when that happened.
Quite substantially. But it's one of those where the code itself was the actual emojis. So a lot of people had came into this finding entirely what we were looking for, and we found this during testing as well, of I think it was Codemoji by Mozilla. That wasn't what we were intended for. There was a different tool that we used to create that, which I think that in itself is enough that you might be able to start digging into. Where for me, it was literally just a command line tool of pipe the flag through it, and that's what you get.
Okay.
So it's a one-step process. I know a few people are likely still digging into that one, so I don't want to give away exactly everything, but we intentionally used a tool that wasn't the very first thing that showed up. So you might have to dig through a little bit to figure out what that tool is and what we were doing.
Great. Tinker Fairy said something that I want to respond to. Is feel free to totally solve the unsolved or spoil the unsolved ones. No, a lot of the ones that we have put together, we will like Mike has said, ever since we did the CTF last year, the an address puzzle was again the exact same puzzle from last year, and we only had a couple of people do it, but that puzzle's been sort of publicly available since last year. So I would say that one of the decisions that we've made about the server, the server that we're doing for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to leave the bot up in the mode that you see now. That will accept, so it'll validate flags for correctness or incorrectness, but it will not change any points or it will not record anything. Shout out to Ian for a couple of years ago that found a bug in one of the other scoring systems. I had that test case in iMatrix, and I made sure that the ending behavior did not change or corrupt the scoreboard at all if people do submit flags at the end. So congratulations for affecting my my business going forward there. We did make sure that was taken care of. So for all of you that are waiting for sort of looking at the OSINT ones, like G mentioned, she is going to go through all of the OSINT ones in more detail. Thinking Stone Den was zip steganography. Mike, do you want to respond about Stone Den?
Yeah, I can pretty much explain that one whole. So as it's kind of been commented in the CTF support chat, we were playing around with polyglot files, which for those of you that aren't aware, that is a file with one extension that also is the exact same file via another extension. So yes, the way that challenge was prompted was to ask people to extract all the files where the flag was hidden in the file itself, not the files that you extracted. So the way that one was solved was determining what file it should be and changing the extension and opening it.
So in terms of why this might be relevant to you as either a hacker or an analyst or an InfoSec practitioner, whatever. If you're a practitioner, I guess you're a partitioner. That if you're doing it right, so that makes sense. But the idea is polyglot files are one of the ways that attackers can get an unexpected input file into an environment which is trying to check the type of a file based upon its extension. A lot of really simple, naive security controls only look at what's after the dot. They don't actually introspect the content of those files to figure out what they are. And so if I'm as a hacker, I'm trying to stage my code somewhere else, what I would do is masquerade the actual payload as another type of file and then upload it or try to get it on the machine that I'm trying to get target access to. And so Rotten Rat absolutely Rotten Rat absolutely is right about a good thing to do in a CTF is always use the file command. The file command is something that is standard on a lot of Linux distributions. It's built on a piece of code called libmagic, which is super exciting to look at the source code of. It's an open source library that gives patterns based upon the actual byte contents of files, so that as it scans through those files, what it actually does is it matches them. If you're familiar with something like Yara, it's a similar idea. It's kind of like Yara for files, but it's always a good way to make sure that what you're looking at is what it's at. And then also strings is one way to look inside a file to see all the ASCII printable strings. But the other piece here that might be a tool that, as you go forward might be useful to look at is something called binwalk. Binwalk is an interesting program that you also use as libmagic that will actually roll through the contents of a binary file and find all of the subcomponents or the subsections of that are also files. So anything like file nesting, where you've got a picture stuck inside of another type of file, or embedding, I would suggest try it on like a JPEG format image. You'll see a number of different pieces of that image which binwalk identifies and can help you investigate in a separate way. But like Rottennet pointed out, all of those are great great ideas. But good question. Mike, do you want to say anything more about that?
So then another unintended but quite hilarious consequence was that for this challenge, we didn't actually use the flag format, so that you couldn't use strings or you couldn't just search for the specific format to find the flag. You actually had to read the document to get the flag. And then because of how long the flag was, a lot of people were unintentionally adding carriage returns to their flag submissions that we got a good laugh out of on our end because of the document that they were pulling stuff out of.
Right. Yeah, and actually, sorry, I know this is a little bit of a throwback to the infrastructure piece, but just to let you all know very transparently the bug that I had to fix in the bot. So if you use the help, if you did get the help message, it will, for the individual commands, sort of tell you the parameters that it's expecting. Just to let you all know exactly what was going on, if you didn't quote flags that had spaces in them, what it was actually doing was every word was a new parameter to the command. And in the cases where some of you put the quotes somewhere in the middle of that string, what that ended up having a problem with was that I was getting an error that I wasn't directly handling in the bot called unbalanced parentheses. It's a Discord error or unbalanced quotation marks, sorry. It's a Discord error that would actually prevent the command from fully executing. So I actually didn't get to my own error handler that I'd written. So this was actually a thing where I had to add an error handler at another level that finally gave you a message. But in the code that we'll finally release, we're going to have a lot more user-friendliness around that. And in fact, you saw that if you did make that mistake again when you were submitting a flag as more than one parameter. Yeah, no, I completely understand that, that wasn't the best user experience thing. And, we'll have that fixed for the future. Yeah. Okay. So I think that's probably about it on that challenge. Well, I think, one of the things that everybody here is sort of waiting for is handing it over to G to sort of walk through the OSINT challenges. So I'm going to put this on the board and hand it over to G. So one moment while we switch places. If I can computer. And then I will put this right back for you. That's my face. Sorry, this is a real high-tech handoff. All right. There we go.
All right.
Hey, everybody show a little love to G. Am I right?
Hello. All righty. Everything's up. Sweet. I can see questions. I will do the same thing. I'll try to follow questions online. This is also my first go at writing OSINT questions. I've done OSINT challenges, but my first hand at actually writing them. So obviously I had a lot of fun. I'm married to someone who does challenges like this. You've experienced it, so obviously I have to do the same. Red herrings all over the place, but I will walk through them, and actually I have pictures and links and, you know, specifics, so we'll post this somewhere else as well that you guys can follow. But I tried to actually write through how I did it, how I found all the pieces, and hopefully that will help. So yeah, fancy Googling. Thanks, babe. Nope, that one. There we go. All right, so the first one was hungry. I just posted the clue. After searching through cabinets leaves you with more questions. You will dine here across the street. Invite your enemies as you please. This was the file that was attached. I think it was the only one that has a file. So my first step whenever I get an image in an OSINT challenge is to reverse image search where that image is used. So that's what I did. We find that it's Albrecht Dürer, The Revelation of St. John. And when you scroll down on Google, you can see where this image is used, like what pages use it. One of those being this link, WGA. I think I have that on the next slide. And that is the Staatliche Kunsthalle in Karlsruhe. It's a museum in Germany. And it actually says that it is in the Kupferstich cabinet, so in a cabinet for metal or wood carvings. They actually have cabinets just for that. So it's not actually on display, but it is in a cabinet. So, you know, we have that in the clue cabinet, searching through cabinets. So when you Google search for this Kunsthalle, you get a map view. The answer, La Prima, I'll show you on the slide. So when you go to that link, you can see that the picture is here, the Revelation of St. John. And you can see that's in a cabinet. You can see where it is. Oh, back. Kunsthalle. And when you Google that, you can see there's literally one restaurant across the street, La Prima, and see, that's the answer, La Prima, I believe. Yep, La Prima is right across the street. It's the only one. And that's kind of the way that if you're going down, I know I saw a bunch of people saying that they were looking at Dürer's house or home. It has a bunch of cabinets and some of his old stuff. But when you look for restaurants, there's like 100 restaurants around the area. That's when you know you're down a rabbit hole, because you're trying to look for that like one answer that makes sense. So when you look back at this image, you can see that there's really just one restaurant around it. And it's La Prima. So that was the answer. I don't think I saw, yep, exit tools, got that. All right. So the second one was hunker. I think this is the only one that wasn't solved. The answer was Cave of the Apocalypse. So again, all of these clues and all of these answers have apocalypse in it somehow. That is, you know, the theme, and that's what I continued with. So the clue was to escape the inevitable 4,880 nautical miles east from where we stood. This aptly named site will do just fine as a bunker. So a couple of both red herrings as well as things that you have to dig through. Using Google Maps, I use Google Maps. There's a ton of map tools where you can put in circles and measurements. Google Maps works really well. I think I might also use, oh, I have that on my computer. I use a different app to kind of draw a circle with whichever diameter or radius you need, and then it shows you exactly where that point is. So when you start at the West End, because that's where we should be standing and should be at this weekend, not whichever address you are at currently, because I wouldn't know that. So using West End as the starting point, converting 4,880 nautical miles to miles, which is 5,615, you travel east. So I think I have a screenshot here. So I have Indianapolis. You travel east. I kind of am showing kind of a span here, but it kind of puts you into this area right here. It's Greece, Turkey, the waters of Greece, Turkey. If you scroll in, it's the Aegean Sea. It's the, wait, where is it? The Dodecanese Islands. That's kind of where it puts you at. Then there's some searching you've got to do. I definitely left this as a hint for later, which we did add, I think yesterday or late last night. But if you kind of do a search of Aegean Sea, Dodecanese Islands, and Apocalypse, that's the theme, you find Patmos, the island of Patmos, and the Cave of the Apocalypse. The hint we gave was permute your ideas towards the airworthiest ledge. That is an anagram for the World Heritage Site. The UNESCO World Heritage Site, and I think I have a screenshot. So this is their map at UNESCO. You can see if you're looking at that same Aegean Sea, there's a couple of sites that they have highlighted. So if you kind of compared that map with this map, you can kind of see we're in exactly the same area. And if you click on it here, you can see the historic center of St. John and the Cave of the Apocalypse. So yeah, that is the answer. I think it was Cave of the Apocalypse, and I think that is the only OSINT that was not solved.
Question there: how'd you get the plot on the map of the distance?
I did Google Maps. That definitely gets you into. I think if you drew a straight line, it gets you right into the kind of top of Turkey.
Mention the right clicking.
I think it's right click on Google and you can like measure. I know that if you only use 4,880 miles, it puts you on the other side of Greece. So you need to definitely convert that into miles from nautical miles. This app right here, I'll have to check. No, this is Google Maps as well. Yeah, it shows down here. So this is a screenshot from Google. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just reading. Yeah, so it's definitely once you measure out that 5,615 miles, you're definitely getting into that tip of Turkey, but that's kind of straight due east. And if you look in that region, right, it's that searching that region with Apocalypse, and then with the hint to UNESCO. Once you go to the UNESCO website, you know, the Cave of the Apocalypse becomes that. I think even part of the clue says this aptly named site, so Cave of the Apocalypse. That's how that gets you there. That was Hunker, I believe. The next one was Lockdown. So these other two ones definitely got solved. Considered the Cinderella of the Garden, accompanied by this. How many can you find at 78 North, 15 East? Again, a couple of red herrings or things you can kind of go down a rabbit hole. That's the whole point of OSINT sometimes. So consider the Cinderella of the Garden. Definitely has a couple of options. I think the fifth link, when you Google it, literally says Zinnia, the Cinderella of the Garden. It's literally the title of the article. And when you search for the Japanese letters, you come across a Pokemon named Higana, who is a companion to Zinnia. So really this second clue is only to confirm the Cinderella of the Garden being the Zinnia. So we know we're looking for something Zinnia related. 78 North, 15 East places you kind of in the middle of nowhere. Digging deeper literally is what's close is Svalbard, which is the global seed vault. It is where we as a civilization are storing seeds to use if we ever, you know, have an apocalypse and everything gets destroyed and we have to rebuild. So kind of apocalypse themed. So we're looking for zinnias at the global seed vault. I think I have the link here for their public display of, you know, what is in that seed vault. When you search for zinnia, genus zinnia, there's a ton of results for different zinnias. There is only one true vernacular name zinnia. It's also Zin 1 in terms of the accession number. You can see that there's 500 seeds. So the number of seeds, back to the clue, is the answer is 500.
Make the point a little clearer that it was the only one that only had
Yeah,
the
so
word
it definitely is, and I have taken plenty of notes on things that, you know, for future OSINT challenges that I write. There are other choices for zinnia. I think somebody just added it in Discord. There's several different zinnias. I think all of them have an addition to the word zinnia. So it's like the yellow zinnia, the elegant zinnia. They have, you know, random institution codes, random accession numbers. There is only one true zinnia, a singular entry that is the vernacular name zinnia. That is what the companion's name is, the Pokemon. That is what the flower is. So we're not looking for any of the other versions of zinnias. We're just looking for the zinnia, so that's 500. I know a bunch of people added all of the different zinnias together. So I think that was 4,500, and a lot of people put that in there. So super, super close, but 500 was the number of seeds. Just reading through here. Questions?
I can handle that question from Velacia. I'm sorry, I'm reading it from a distance. Crystal, was the second speaker in Trackman to have a flag at the end of their presentation? Not that I'm aware of. That would be news to me. If you want to message me, this is Lintile, with what you're talking about. If you screenshot it or whatever, I'm happy to look into it for you.
Okay. See if there, I know somebody's typing. Kane, anything? Okay, so I'm gonna move to the last one, Portal. I know this one left quite a few people down, you know, the 2 a.m. rabbit hole. I apologize. I thought it was fun. I probably won't reduce the number of red herrings I put into these questions, but it's fun to me. So as the apocalypse nears, we have observed 335,312 ounces at its focal point, In fact, this many inches is required to view 0972503706 through that 72.04% silica. We all know what the question reads. So there's quite a lot in this question. A lot of things to search for, a lot of things to connect. So when we look at this, kind of where I start at is this 0972 number. Just a straight Google of that is it's an ISBN for a post-apocalyptic comic named Fist of the North Star. It looks fascinating. So it's kind of the thing to take away from that is the North Star. That's what we're trying to view. The North Star is often used to kind of speak of, you know, apocalypse nearing. So it is, you know, themed again. 72.04% silica, alumina, and iron oxide. I'll admit, even though there is iron oxide in it, it is the red herring in that it doesn't show you right away what you might be looking for, but the silica and alumina for sure gets you to granite. So we're also talking behemoth. Granite is often used to create monuments and behemoths. So we're obviously looking for some sort of monument or, you know, building or thing that is made of granite to speak of or look at the North Star. So cross-referencing North Star and granite, and again, apocalypse, it's kind of the theme. Even if you did not have apocalypse in there, I know I have been able to get to it, but cross-referencing those and Googling, as you come across the Georgia Guidestones, I think I have a picture, yep, right there. So these are this kind of insanely cool, cryptic, not even explained until today, monument that is in Georgia. It is made out of granite. You should go look and read about it. It is really, really interesting. A lot of kind of conspiracy, and I don't even know what it means even today. So it's kind of interesting. And if you literally Wikipedia it, I think I saw somebody in the chat say, I know someone who lives close and I almost had him go measure it. Awesome. I will give you points for that. If you had gotten me even a close answer to that, I will give you points. I did not need you to go physically to the item to measure it. Wikipedia speaks about the Georgia Guidestone, and it actually has physical data about it. It speaks of being able to view the North Star through the center stone, the center element of this monument. So if you look at the center stone, 16 feet, 4 inches high, I did have kind of another way to verify you're on the right track. If you remember in the question, I had 335,312 ounces. If you convert this to pounds, it's the exact weight that Wikipedia lists for that center stone. So it's 16 feet, 4 inches, which if you convert is 196 inches. So the answer is 196. So that's how I got there.
May I address the people talking about the wording? Because I had this discussion, and I firmly believe that a way that you can read this is how high the actual portal is on the stone to actually be able to get the right angle to view the North Star. So you're interpreting it as how high you're required to be. It's how high the hole has to be on the stone to be required to point the right angle.
Yes. That's
okay.
All right. So center stone, 196 inches. I'll definitely read back through these questions, and I will have a more, I think, detailed walkthrough of this that we'll post somewhere so that people can look through how I got there. But it was fun, super fun. I know 3 of the 4. Yeah, more challenges, more controversy. Completely agree. So yeah, those are the 4 challenges. That's all I got.
All right, great. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, let me talk really quick. One more thing about the program that Mike and I are looking at doing for. Oh, there we go. Good enough. Okay. So little things before we talk about the last piece. One of the things that Mike and I talked about at length about wanting to promote this year was the ability for people to get more experience on writing up their CTF challenges in meaningful ways. Not only is it a good preparatory behavior, especially for people that have roles as analysts or anybody that is doing some forensics or any sort of assessment, really. So, it gets you into the mode of technical writing, especially if you're new to the industry. So, Mike, do you want to kind of talk through the beginnings of the program that we want to promote for write-ups and CTFs?
I don't have my notes in front of me, so if you've got it.
Oh yeah, no, okay, got it. I'll take care of it. So, so basically, what we're planning on doing is accepting via a channel in the Prophecies Discord. We will be dropping information in there about where we will accept write-ups or links to write-ups. I will put up, sort of what we're expecting. But the bottom line is I want to see not only the things that you did right, but I also want to see the different places where, you really had moments of realization or sort of wishing, that you caught a part of the clue. All of that is instructive to talk about the way you're thinking and trying to solve a problem. Actually giving the command line invocations or the actual URLs to the different tools you used. That's a great piece of this as well. So what we're going to be talking about is, basically accepting these write-ups. We will promote them along with the challenges that they have, been spawned from, and then we will award prizes. Basically, at least one prize for the best write-up for each challenge. One prize basically for the best conclusive write-up if anybody sort of like wrote it up all together, as well as anything that we deem to be above the line in terms of either uniqueness, completeness, or clarity. So we'll basically be trying to honorable mention. The one thing I'm going to be doing is everybody who submits a write-up will at least receive something from me as a prize. It might not be 100% in terms of giant Amazon gift cards or anything, but I will send you a prize of some sort if you submit a write-up to this. So please stay in that Discord. Like I said, we're going to be leaving it up for the next few days, but I will be posting where to submit those write-ups to Mike and myself, and we will absolutely help you refine that skill and give you feedback, as we have, written and consumed a lot of those ourselves. Lacroix, Malort, we'll figure something out. I do aim to please, and I know that Malort doesn't please a whole lot of people. So, great. So, Mike, any last pieces before we sort of call this session to a wrap, or if anybody has any last questions that they want to get across? Mike?
I've got nothing that's coming to mind right now. I figure we can just post into the channel for any follow-ups on our part, but yeah.
Excellent.
Any questions, and legitimately would appreciate any feedback, positive, negative, or otherwise, on the challenges or contest as a whole for those that were unable to comment during our talk.
Rotten Rat, I will answer the questions about total players and all of that at closing ceremonies at 5 o'clock. So not that hour. Craven One, how many angry messages did I get? Probably not as many as I deserved, is probably the answer to that. Was this talk a flag? Pretty much anything can be a flag. Shupa Thingy, yes, I will publish a full scoreboard as a gist on GitHub, but that will be linked from my Twitter, which is at Lintile on Twitter. I'm happy to put all of those statistics out via that methodology. Okay, well, since that's it, please let me know if there are any other questions or comments. Mike and I would love to hear from you. But if not, that's going to be the end of this talk, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your CircleCityCon. Heartfelt from me, and I'm sure Mike too. Thank you for the enthusiasm, the camaraderie, and all of those pieces. We really appreciate you all. Thanks for allowing me to experiment on all of you. With my challenges and my formats. The one thing I'll say as a last thought, I do plan on giving a talk about some of the more fine points about the security model that I've used inside the Discord bot, along with I'm planning to open source it. So stay tuned if you want to watch that. I will promote it on Twitter when that does absolutely happen. But if not, thank you, and DFIU.